Their steam cleaning of of all the footpaths and the carport area, the whole area basically. Yeah, it does look better, so it makes a difference, and it's not as noisy as the tree loppers last Monday, so that's good. Finally getting the home stretch with the flight. I think I'm only about 18 hours off or something like that before I head off, and another beautiful day here. But I'm looking forward to the change. Freaking out as usual. I did make a major miscalculation on seat allocations. I was under the impression I could make a change or choose my seats 24 hours before the flight. Okay, got everything done with the banking. So I figured it's better to have more than rather less funds when you go all that way across to Europe. Had a really interesting talk to the girl, the teller. She was quite nice, and she knows all about travel because she's actually she's in a second relationship with a pilot. She had a pilot boyfriend or husband or whatever before the latest one who works at QantasLink. So that was interesting, and so she's been to Spain but not to Seville. And she's also been to Vietnam, just recently got back from it and did the main tour right up the spine. So yeah, interesting to have a chat to her about things. Yeah, all the stuff's been cleaned around our place. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention is about the booking seats 24 hours ahead. It always pays to look at the fine print, because what I didn't notice is because I've got a sale fare, I don't get to actually choose my seats 24 hours before the flight. I was under the impression I had that option, but I don't even get that with a sales fare. But the curious thing is that when I looked up the Qantas, I found that that they had me listed as a window seat. And so hopefully when I check in tomorrow morning, because it's going to be quite early, it's a 6:15 flight down to Melbourne. Once I check in there, presumably because it's an ongoing flight to Singapore, the luggage will be on that one flight, and I will just find out what my seating is and to confirm that I've got a window seat, which will be great. Now my major concern is the BA flight. I've got no idea what sort of seat allocation I'll get there. If I get there early, I'll check in as soon as I possibly can to. Because funnily enough, there were a lot of window seats available on the seating chart. Now that's strange. I would have thought they'd be the first to go, but most of them were window or aisle. And I mean, aisle's not great, but it's better than being squeezed right in the centre. So there's only one in the centre of a group. Now maybe that's because a lot of groups of people are travelling, but there's really only one seat that I really wouldn't want to get out of that lot. So but they said I've got a window seat. That's how they defined it. So they said when I went onto that chart, they said change seats. They didn't actually say pick a seat. So the seat apparently has been picked for me for that leg. So that's 7 hours leg, and that'd be nice. But the most important one is really the one to Heathrow, because I really got to get some sleep on board. And even if I take a couple of sleeping pills, if I get someone who's fidgety sitting next to me, or I get a kid crying, it's going to be very hard to get a decent amount of sleep, and that would be a really bad scenario. So just see how it goes. Because if I turn up to Madrid without any sleep, it's going to be a bit ugly. And yeah, I don't know what I've booked the ticket for that day. I really got to get to my accommodation that day. Maybe I probably look, in retrospect, I probably should have stayed overnight in Madrid, but you know, I've committed to the train ride. I mean, it's not hard to get to the railway station, but if you're sleep deprived, it's really hard to think straight, and you're quite vulnerable. So I don't want to take too many risks. Good news too today is I think I'm okay with my SIM card. Yesterday when I tried using it, I discovered it had been locked, and I'd used 2 times to try to put the pin number in. The pin was actually there on a piece on the plastic mold that holds the actual pin, the actual SIM card. It had a scratchy, and I wasn't aware of that. But the guy thankfully got back to me that sold the SIM to me, an English guy, and he told me that I had to do the scratchy, and which I did, and I found the 4-digit pin number, and I think I've input it correctly, because now it's registering the Prodigy SIM card as well as my Aldi SIM card, so that's good. So he said he'd activate it for me in 24 hours. Apparently, on his screen it says when I bought it, it said you had to provide your passport number and date of birth, but he didn't ask me for that, and he just said he's going to activate it for me. So I don't know, I didn't have to do it last time, I don't think. Well, we'll see. Hopefully it'll go smoothly, because I really need it if there's a problem with getting to the accommodation on time. Certainly the bus definitely comes outside the railway station. I double checked that on Street View. That Google Street View is brilliant, because I know exactly where the street is outside the railway station, where to actually catch the bus. So that shouldn't be too difficult. Not sure where I'm going to get a ticket from, whether I can buy one indoors, because there's a 10 ticket option. You can get a card that will give you 10 trips on the bus, and it's slightly cheaper. And I'm not sure how you presumably have to swipe it on the actual the bus. I'm not sure how that works, but I guess they'll tell me at the kiosk or whatever if there's a place actually selling these tickets. So that's so we'll see how we go. But yeah, I've got everything else is pretty well sorted. Yeah, it should be all right. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the flights, though. I just pray that the position of the seats isn't as big an issue as who's sitting next to you. I think that's more important. If you've got someone who is loud and fidgety, they're the worst. And I have had people like that. Oh, there's actually just before. Wait, I'm standing in line, and this weird girl, not really a girl, I think she looked way beyond a girl. She looked like she's well into middle age, but she's dressed like a little girl, and she kept swaying back and forward. It's like reminded me of an elephant that had been tethered in Chiang Mai that was going crazy, and she had the same sort of movements. And yeah, strange. But like I said, she had little bobby socks on, and I don't know what they call them these days, but that's what they call them in the old movies. That's a great cultural reference. I have old things. But yeah, she definitely, you would have thought she was a young girl just looking at the rear of her, but when I saw her face, no, she was definitely mature. So yeah, anyway, it's Cairns. You see all types up here. It's a melting pot. Oh, that was another thing that this girl that served me, she was great, really interesting girl to talk to. The teller at ANZ, she said that a friend of hers had been to Barcelona 5 years ago and just returned, and she said things have really radically changed. It said there's a big immigrant population there, and she didn't feel very safe, and that's just changed in 5 years. And I know that the Spanish government has just they just voted in a socialist government who are pretty slack on immigration, and I'm hoping that Seville hasn't gone the same way. I'm doubting it, especially in the area I'm going to be in, but because it's landlocked, it's on a river, it's off the coast a bit. Hopefully not such an issue, but I don't know. That's one thing I love about Vietnam. It's very safe and interesting, and people are great, and it's cheap. It's just a great place to be. But Seville is a beautiful city. Just hoping that the quality of life is still there. So 5 years is a fair bit of time, and obviously it has made a change to a place like Barcelona. So might give an insight into why people in Europe in general, with Spain being the exception, are basically revolting against mass immigration. It's just too much, too fast. It's no time for an orderly integration into the population. And if you do that, you force that upon people. You have politicians who don't listen to the populace and just force an ideology on them. You're going to have a backlash. So hopefully it's not a big deal in Seville, but we'll see. So yeah, that's a bit of a shame about Barcelona. It didn't say what part of Barcelona. It may not be everywhere. It might be an enclave. But yeah, people are getting a little worried.